female consorts of the emperor, the concubines.
For more than 2,000 years, the tomb of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, has remained sealed under a massive mound of earth. The tomb itself spreads across a vast area, but only small sections around its outer edges have ever been uncovered. Ancient writings describe entire underground palaces, protected by rivers of flowing mercury and deadly traps meant to destroy any intruder. No human has ever seen what truly rests inside. Above ground, the famous Terracotta Army offers the only glimpse of the wonder below. It's astonishing. Over 8,000 life-size clay soldiers have been unearthed, along with 520 horses and 130 chariots, though most of them still remain buried. Now, as modern technology reveals hints too startling to dismiss, the mystery grows louder. What exactly lies within the emperor's forbidden tomb, and why has it stayed sealed for so many centuries? When parts of it were finally opened, what was revealed turned out to be more disturbing than anyone imagined. The terrifying tomb of Qin Shi Huang was built for him alone, the very first emperor of China. To call him ruthless hardly captures the truth. He rose to power during China's brutal warring states period, when rival kingdoms clashed endlessly, leaving behind scorched villages, starving peasants, and fields piled high with corpses. Out of this chaos, Qin Shi Huang accomplished what no one before him had dared. He crushed every rival, uniting all the kingdoms, and in 221 BCE, he declared himself the first emperor of a single, unified China. To the people, he was worshipped as almost godlike, but also feared as a merciless tyrant. Yet in spite of his cruelty, his reign reshaped China forever. He commanded the use of one unified writing system, introduced a standardized currency, and enforced strict laws that bound the vast empire under his absolute control. He launched projects on a scale the world had never seen, even laying the early foundations of the Great Wall. But behind these monumental achievements was a rule powered by fear and violence. Millions of people were enslaved, forced into backbreaking labor to build his walls, canals, palaces, and monuments, most of them never returning home alive. Entire families were consumed in the emperor's hunger for power. Countless lives perished under the crushing demands of imperial construction. Qin Shi Huang's obsession with total control seeped into every part of society. Even knowledge became dangerous. To the emperor, any idea that questioned his authority was nothing less than poison. In 213 BCE, he ordered the infamous burning of books. Scholars who resisted were executed or buried alive, their voices silenced for eternity. Entire libraries of history, philosophy, and poetry were erased in one sweeping campaign of fear, leaving behind only the words the emperor wanted remembered. In his mind, he was not merely building an empire, he was building eternity itself. Yet for all his power, there was one enemy Qin Shi Huang could never defeat: death. His terror of mortality grew into a consuming obsession with immortality. He sent envoys across seas, deserts, and mountains in search of mythical elixirs. Court alchemists promised miracles, offering strange brews infused with rare metals and minerals. Desperate, the emperor consumed mercury pills, convinced they would make him live forever, never realizing that they were slowly killing him. His desire to outwit death shaped his greatest undertaking, the creation of his tomb. From the moment he unified China, he commanded the construction of a subterranean kingdom worthy of a god. Hundreds of thousands of laborers were forced into this colossal project, carving out a hidden empire beneath the earth. Qin Shi Huang dreamed of an eternal dynasty, one that could never be erased. At the heart of it all was himself, the emperor who forged a superpower from a fractured land. He demanded that both his body and his spirit remain untouchable for all eternity. In life, he ruled through terror. In death, he created a tomb designed to radiate that same terror forever. What lies sealed beneath that burial mound may be the purest reflection of his rule, magnificent, fearsome, and profoundly unsettling. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang was no ordinary grave. Construction began long before his death, perhaps as early as the moment he claimed the throne of Qin at just 13 years old. The project stretched on for nearly 4 decades, drawing in endless waves of laborers. Convicts, slaves, and peasants were conscripted into backbreaking work, digging, hauling, shaping, and sealing vast underground chambers. For many, there was no return. Ancient accounts describe entire armies of workers vanishing into the earth, buried alive alongside the stones they laid. Their sacrifice ensured the tomb would remain a secret, locked away in blood. A century later, the historian Sima Qian recorded the most chilling details. According to Sima Qian's haunting description, the underground mausoleum was no ordinary grave, but a miniature universe. He wrote that rivers and seas of liquid mercury flowed through channels beneath the earth, arranged to mirror the great waterways and oceans of the empire. Above them stretched a ceiling painted with stars, forming a cosmic map of the heavens, while below lay a perfect model of Qin Shi Huang's earthly dominion. At its very core stood vast palaces, chambers said to gleam with gold and jade, and treasures beyond imagination. Guarding this hidden kingdom was an entire army of clay. Thousands of life-size terracotta soldiers stood in formation, ready to watch over their emperor for eternity. Each figure was carved with painstaking detail, distinct faces, hairstyles, expressions, and armor, so lifelike they seemed frozen in time. Horses, chariots, and weapons stood beside them, as if waiting to march at the emperor's command in the afterlife. To the people of his age, this was no mere burial site. It was a fortress sealed in death, a realm designed to strike fear into anyone bold enough to disturb it. But the darkest part of the tale lies in how the tomb was finally sealed. For more than 2,000 years, rumors, theories, and grim speculations have circled its mystery. One of the most chilling stories claims that the thousands of workers who built the mausoleum were executed and entombed within it once their work was complete. Ancient writers said this ensured the secrets of the emperor's resting place would never leave the site. If true, then the emperor's tomb is also a vast mass grave, filled with the bones of those who created it. Other legends painted an even more terrifying picture. Qin Shi Huang's obsession with protection did not end with walls of earth and rivers of mercury. Sima Qian also wrote of deadly traps buried deep within the chambers, crossbows rigged to fire automatically at intruders, their strings still pulled taut after more than 2 millennia. According to legend, the devices were engineered so precisely that anyone daring to enter would be struck down before they ever glimpsed the emperor's body. As centuries passed, even wilder theories emerged. Some claimed the emperor discovered knowledge far ahead of his time. Whispers told of lost sciences or even alien technology sealed within the tomb. These ideas, though dismissed by most historians, continue to fuel curiosity because the burial site remains untouched and untested. Another persistent rumor centered on the reports of mercury rivers inside. To some, this was symbolic, representing the emperor's dominion over all of China. But to others believed the mercury rivers were not just symbolic, but real. They argued that ancient workers poured actual mercury into the underground chambers, creating flowing streams and shimmering pools to mirror the natural world. If true, the tomb would not only be dangerous, it would be toxic since mercury is highly poisonous. This belief fed another theory, that the mercury itself served as a deadly barrier, a mote of poison designed to protect the emperor's grave. Speculation also swirled around the condition of Qin Shi Huang's body. With such immense resources at his command, some imagined he may have been preserved unnaturally well, perhaps lying untouched, with skin and hair intact, sealed in an airtight chamber where decay could never reach him. Others suggested the mercury might have been used in an attempt at preservation, since the emperor's greatest obsession was immortality itself. Over time, myths grew of forbidden powers hidden beneath the burial mound. Local tales spoke of a curse guarding the tomb, punishing anyone who dared disturb it. These whispers turned the site into a place of fear as well as fascination. Was it a treasury of gold, a crypt of horror, or something far stranger? No one could say. For centuries, the questions lingered while the tomb remained sealed. Eventually, however, modern science brought new tools to challenge these ancient rumors. In the early 1970s, Chinese researchers began collecting soil samples from the land around the vast burial mound of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. What they discovered was shocking. The mercury levels in the soil were not just elevated, they were astronomically high. For the first time, there was scientific evidence supporting the ancient accounts of Sima Qian, who described rivers and seas of liquid mercury flowing through the emperor's tomb as both a symbol of power and a deadly defense. From then on, the mystery of the first emperor's resting place was no longer just legend. It had become a scientific puzzle. Archaeologists have since taken extreme care not to physically break into the tomb. Instead of shovels and picks, They rely on technology to peer inside while keeping the structure intact. One of their most important tools has been ground-penetrating radar, which sends energy pulses deep into the earth and interprets the echoes to create a map of what lies below. The scans revealed vast hollow spaces beneath the mound, suggesting enormous chambers stretching far wider than expected. Some readings even hinted at unusual structures, designs that didn't match the layout of a typical burial site. Later, with the rise of drones and 3D imaging, clearer pictures of the hidden world emerged. High-resolution surveys revealed branching tunnels extending from the main mound. Even more astonishing, the layouts of certain rooms appeared to mirror constellations in the night sky, as if the emperor's tomb was designed as a reflection of the heavens themselves, a cosmic kingdom where Qin Shi Huang could reign for eternity. But as technology advanced, so too did the warnings. Scientists began to explain that the tomb was sealed with delicate materials that had survived more than 2 millennia only because they had never been disturbed. The moment oxygen touched the main chamber, fragile treasures, wood, silk, paintings, even metals, could disintegrate into dust. A single mistake could destroy the greatest archaeological find in human history before anyone even saw it. For this reason, Chinese authorities long refused a full excavation. Debates raged for decades. Some argued the tomb should remain untouched out of respect for the emperor and the countless dead entombed with him. Others believed it could contain priceless artifacts that would reshape our understanding of China's past. But many feared the technology simply wasn't advanced enough to ensure safe preservation. Year after year, the decision was the same. Wait a little longer. Now, however, waiting was no longer the only option. A new wave of tools powered by artificial intelligence offered possibilities that once seemed impossible. AI systems could merge radar scans, soil chemistry tests, and satellite data to build detailed models of what lay beneath the mound. Some of these models even suggested potential entry points, where tunnels could be dug without causing collapses. For the first time, whispers spread among archaeologists that a controlled opening might actually be possible. Quietly, preparations began. Behind closed doors, scientists, engineers, and historians gathered to plan what could become the most dangerous excavation in history, breaking the seal of Qin Shi Huang's tomb. It was never meant to be opened. Every stone block, every packed layer of soil was part of a defense designed to endure centuries. The tomb builders had been relentless, ensuring their emperor's resting place was protected with absolute precision. For modern researchers, entering such a place required more than tools. It demanded extraordinary caution. This was not a doorway to be forced with picks or drills. It was a fortress buried in the earth. Crossing its threshold required months of careful preparation. Before anyone touched the stone, scientists spent weeks collecting data from the outside. Ground-penetrating radar swept across the mound, creating ghostly images of chambers and corridors. Strange fluctuations were detected beneath the earth. Some experts believed they revealed rivers of mercury, just as the ancient texts described. Others feared they indicated traps lying in wait after 2,000 years of silence. The first step was containment. Engineers constructed airtight tents around the likely entry points. These acted as protective bubbles, designed to trap any gases or chemicals that might escape. Inside, the air was tightly controlled, and every piece of equipment sterilized before entering. Nothing was left to chance because no one knew if poison, toxins, or even ancient pathogens lay sealed within. Oxygen supply and filtration system. Moving slowly and carefully, the scientists advanced like astronauts on the surface of another world, their steps heavy and muffled. In the back of their minds lingered the old warnings, tales of mercury rivers, hidden traps, and death waiting in the darkness. The mercury-filled rivers were no myth. Soil tests showed levels hundreds of times higher than normal, proof that the tomb was as dangerous as it was legendary. If the fumes leaked out suddenly, they could kill. Ordinary drills were useless, so engineers brought diamond-tipped machines, cutting carefully into the stone. Robotic probes slipped through the cracks, carrying cameras, lights, and sensors. Every second was monitored: air pressure, chemicals, even temperature. One wrong reading, and the work stopped. At last, after hours of precision drilling, the stone cracked. A metallic, bitter smell escaped, the tomb's first breath in more than 2,000 years. The chamber beyond was silent, waiting. The door was open, but the real danger lay inside. When researchers entered, they found not peace, but a chilling spectacle. Weapons lined the halls, swords, spears, and crossbows still sharp after 2 millennia. Chariots, vessels, and ornaments stood in eerie order, a frozen display of power. Murals on the walls showed not joy but war, cities burning, captives kneeling, soldiers locked in bloody battle. The emperor wanted his terror remembered forever. Then came the most shocking sight: dark pools of liquid mercury shimmering under the lights, turning the halls into something alive and deadly. Nearby lay human skeletons, some posed as sacrifices, others crushed where they fell. Many bore signs of violent death, echoing tales that workers were slaughtered to keep the tomb's secrets. Even the layout was unnerving: twisting halls, false chambers, traps designed to collapse. It was less a tomb than a deadly puzzle, built to repel intruders for eternity. Taken together, the discoveries revealed not a monument of peace, but a fortress of fear, an eternal reflection of Qin Shi Huang's ruthless obsession with power. Archaeologists concluded Emperor Qin Shi Huang's tomb was never meant as a resting place, but as a replica of his empire, and even the cosmos. Its vast chambers mirrored the organization of his kingdom above ground, proof of a ruler obsessed with control beyond death. The layout suggested not ceremony but strategy. Bronze devices hinted at early mechanical traps, while mercury-filled rivers turned the tomb itself into a weapon. Scattered skeletons told of sacrifices and guards entombed alive, binding servants to their master for eternity. To experts, the site was less a monument of peace than of fear, obsession, and ruthless power, a fortress of paranoia sealed for 2,000 years. Qin Shi Huang's tomb remains one of history's greatest mysteries, sealed for over 2,000 years beneath layers of stone and secrecy. Critics warn that opening it could destroy fragile relics, release deadly mercury fumes, and violate the emperor's final command to keep it sealed forever. Some even call it a curse of knowledge, a truth too dangerous to uncover. Supporters argue the risks are worth it. Just as the Terracotta Army reshaped history, the tomb itself might hold secrets of medicine, engineering, and governance still useful today. But rumors of disturbing finds, and the silence that followed, have only deepened the mystery. Was it truly a monument or a warning left for the future?